Hello and welcome to another video from the Inspiration College. And guys, as you can see on the screen, today what I'm going to look at ChatGPT and how you can use it to solve quadratic equation and also Pythagoras theorem. So I'm going to have two questions on these two formulas for ChatGPT. And just to give a correction, when you're watching the videos, you might be hearing me saying ChatGTP. It's actually ChatGPT. So I would make that correction before I even go into the video. And as you can see on this screen, you have the quadratic equation at the top. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then you have the triangle here. It's a right angle triangle, meaning that this angle is 90 degrees. And you have c as the hypotenuse. You have a as one side, the shortest side here. And then you have b, the longer side here. So this is a formula that we normally use, high school, university. It hasn't changed. So this is what we're going to use, and we're going to have values for A and B, and then the unknown would be C. So we're going to see if ChatGPT can really help us out with this formula and how we can really learn from this AI tool. So guys, just stay tuned to the first part of the video. So guys, we're going to do a bit of maths lesson here. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm just going to go through this lesson and explain to you what is happening here. And then we are going to go to ChatGPT and see what the robot can provide us with. So here we are looking at Pythagoras theorem. And for those of you who love mathematics, then you would know what I'm talking about. If you don't understand what are mathematics was not your favorite subject, then you can still learn a bit, but let me just go through it quickly. So as I can see here, here's the question. If a right angle triangle has C as its hypotenuse and the other two sides are A and B, what is the value of C if A equals 3 and B equals 4? And guys, if you look at this diagram here, this is a right angle triangle, and C here is what we're going to consider to be the hypotenuse. It's the longest side of a triangle. Then you have B, which is the longer side, and then A would be 3, which is the shortest side. So if you look at this diagram here again you will have a representation of your right angle triangle, A, B, and C. Now this is a formula that we normally use throughout high school, university. It hasn't changed to represent Pythagoras theorem. So we use this to work out the sides of these the sides of this triangle. So it doesn't have to always be C. It could be B, could be the unknown, A could be the unknown, but in this case C is the unknown, which is the hypotenuse. So that's what we want to find, and this is a formula: A square plus B square equals C square. So it's the same principle we're going to apply over here. So as you can see here, because I'm not able to, or I didn't really have the time to try and figure out how to get square here, I'm just going to use this arrow pointing up to represent square. So C square is equal to A square plus B square. So C square would now be equal to, so we are going to plug the values that we know. So we know what A is 3, so that would be 3 square plus B is 4 square. So C square would be equal to 3 square, which is 3 times 3 would give you 9, plus 4 square, which is 4 times 4, 16. So C square would be equal to 9 plus 16. 9 plus 16 is 25. So C square would be equal to 25. And of course we want to find C. So C would now be equal to the square root of 25. And we know that the square root of 25 would be 5. So this is the answer. So that's quite straightforward. That's easy. So we want to know if ChatGPT can actually do Pythagoras theorem. So that's what we are going to look at, and to see if ChatGPT would give us the right answer, and also would give us step-by-step workout. How would you work this out so that someone who doesn't understand what is happening would be able to follow. So let us see what ChatGPT can give us. So guys, as you can see, we are on the ChatGPT dashboard, and I'm going to input my query here. So here I'm saying to ChatGPT, if a right angle triangle has C as its hypotenuse and the other two sides are A and B, what is the value of C if A equals 3 and B equals 4? So I'm going to see what ChatGPT can do with this question. So if I click here, as you can see here it starts out, and then it's saying, well, it's writing the question and then it's going to answer. So as you can see, guys, it gives me the correct answer, as you have seen when we did it in the human sense, but I'm still not satisfied with this because it's just vague. You still don't understand what is going on here. So it says if a right angle triangle has C as its hypotenuse and the other two sides are A and B, with A equals 3 and B equals 4, then C can be calculated using Pythagorean theorem, which states that C square equals A square plus B square. So it has given us the formula, which is good, and we know that this is right. And then it says substituting the given values. So C square would now be equal to 3 square plus 4 square equals 9. And then it says 9 plus 16 equals 25. So C square 25. So C is equal to the square root of 25, which is equal to 5. That's okay, but let me see if it can work something out a bit better. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT, can you give me a better explanation? So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to just look at what I have here. So I'm going to say, can you give me, so if I type this here, so can you provide detailed solution? And where's the Squillbot thing? I'll just remove this thing. So if I click on this, then it says sure, and then it's giving me a detailed explanation of how it is worked out. So as you can see, guys, it's actually explaining. So this is really good, because if I'm explaining this to someone who doesn't know, then this is what I would actually want. And as you can see, it gives you a more detailed information as to how you would go about working stuff out. So I prefer this one. So it says, sure, the Pythagorean theorem is a well-known mathematical formula that states that in a right angle triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse, the longest side, which is opposite the right angle, is equal to the sum of the square of the length of the other two sides. Okay, so that is true. Symbolically, it can be represented as C square is equal to A square plus B square, where C is the length of the hypotenuse and A and B are the lengths of the other two sides. Given that in this case A equals 3 and B equals 4, we can substitute these values into the above formula to find the value of C. This is really interesting, and it's quite simple, and really this is how a teacher in the classroom would approach it, or this is one way a teacher would approach it, so that the student can really understand what is happening. And then it says so you plug this information in the formula. C square is equal to 3 square plus 2 square. 3 square is 9. 4 square is 16. So C square would be equal to 25. And it says, finally, to find the length of the hypotenuse, we can find the square root of both sides. So here, as you can see, c is equal to the square root, then you have c squared, and then it's equal to the square root of 25, which is 5. So that is really good. So you're actually finding the square root of both sides of the equation. So this side, then you have the right side. And obviously, you know, an equation for a formula to be an equation, then you would have an equal and you have the value. If it's an expression like 3x plus 2x plus 4, that would be an expression. So once you have that equal sign, you have the left side, you have the right side, then you consider that to be an equation. Hopefully I'm right on that one. And it says, so the length of the hypotenuse in the right angle triangle with a equals 3 and b equals 4 is 5 units. And we know that, as I showed you in the video before, you know, the answer would be 5. So this is really good. So I'm going to cancel this one, and then I'm going to move on to quadratic equation to see if ChatGPT can help me out with the quadratic equation. So let us get right to that one. So guys, in this next section, what I'm actually going to do, I'm looking at quadratic equation now, and I'm not really here to do a maths tutorial, but just to see, because we're talking about ChatGPT, I want to see if ChatGPT can, you know, give me the same answer as how I could actually do it as a human being. So here is what I'm going to ask ChatGPT to do. So first of all, I'm saying find the solution for x squared plus minus x, or you can just say x squared minus 8x plus 5 equals 0. And then where a is equal to 1, b is equal to minus 8, and c equals 5. And we're going to use the quadratic formula. Now the quadratic formula would be this here. X is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And guys, we know what b is, we know what a is, and we know what c is. So the unknown here would be x. So we need to find x. So the next step would be x is equal to minus. Remember, we are looking at the formula here. So this minus is actually this minus here, and b is actually minus 8. So this is why you have minus 8. So you have a bracket to separate minus 8, or the value of b. And of course, you know, when you multiply two negative, then this would result in a positive. So we would now have positive 8. But we just want to put everything out, how we would actually work it out on paper. So it's x is equal to minus bracket minus 8 plus or minus the square root of, and again b again is minus 8, so you bracket here, so it's minus 8 square minus 4, which is this 4, times a, which is 1, so you have bracket there, and then c again is 5 all over 2 times a, and remember a is 1. Then we go to the next line and would say x is equal to 8. So again, minus times minus would give you a plus. So that's why we have positive 8 here. Plus or minus the square root of. And minus 8 square again, because we're squaring, it's actually minus 8 times minus 8. So we would get a positive number, which is 64. So 8 square would be 64. And then minus, which is this minus here. 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 times 5, 20. So that's how we get 20. So we have this minus sign, bring it here, and then we have 20 here. And 2 times 1, 2. So we get down here and we say x is equal to 8 plus or minus the square root of, and then 64 minus 20 would give you 44. So we have 8 plus or minus square root of 44 all upon 2. Now this section here, when you get down here, because I have 44 here, if I should actually say, okay, which number can I use to multiply? Which number can I actually use to multiply by 11 so that I actually still would get 44? Normally, I wouldn't actually use this. I would just grab my calculator and then start just to find the square root of 44. But to actually simplify this, especially if you're not using a calculator. Then I know that if I say 4 times 11, I know that 4 times 11 is 44. And then I know that 4 is a perfect square. So when I come to this section here, this line here, I would actually say 8 plus or minus. Then you notice I have 2 here, but then where is the 44? Because up here I would actually have 4 times 11, which would give me 44. And then the square root of 4 would actually be 2. So I could easily say, okay, 8 plus or minus, and then I would have the 2 here, and then square root 11. Instead of me saying square root of 44, and then grab my calculator to work this out, I could easily use a perfect square. There's a method which, again, I'm kind of rusty with these, but if you don't understand what is happening here, I would actually just grab my calculator and work the square root of 44. And if I just grab my calculator, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So like if I say 44 and then I hit this square root here, so I would get 6.63. So that would be the result of the square root of 44. So if I go back here and I look at this, 2 times the square root of 11, it means that when I multiply 2 by the value for the square root of 11, I should get 6.63. So let us try and see if it works that way. So if I go back to my calculator, I would say 11, and then the square root would give me 3.316, which I could just round off to 3.32. But I'm just going to leave that number. So I'm going to multiply this by, so this is the square root of 11, and I'm going to multiply this by 2. So I would say times 2 equals, so as you can see, you get the same 6.63 like before. So that's the reason why you can actually, instead of you having the square root of 44, you could easily have 2 times the square root of 11. And because 4 times 11 would give you 44 anyway, and 4 is a perfect square. So I might not be explaining it properly, but for those of you who understand this properly, you can leave it in the comment. But I'm a bit rusty anyway. I haven't been doing mathematics for a number of years, so I'm a bit rusty. But that's really how you would get 11 here. And then you continue. So that's all upon 2. Then you have x is equal to 8 upon 2. So that's this 8 upon this 2, because remember, everything is all over 2 according to the formula here. So it's 8 upon 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 times the square root of 11 all upon 2. Now, of course, 8 divided by 2 is 4. And obviously you can divide 2 by 2 here. So you would just cancel these out. So now you would have x is equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of 11. Now, here, this section here, guys, b squared minus 4ac. If b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, then you're going to have 2 values for x. If b squared minus 4ac equals 0, then you would only have 1 value for x. And if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, then you're going to have another value, which I'm not going, you're going to have 2 values, but I'm not going to go into that. We're just going to use this one where b squared minus 4ac would be greater than 0. So here, that's why you end up with 2 values here. So x is equal to 4 plus or minus. Then you find the square root of 11, which we just did, which the square root of 11 was 3.32. So you just add 3.32 plus 4 would give you 7.3166. Well, I round it off. So you could just have this. And then 4 minus 3.32, then you would get this value. So if we could actually do this, so 4 plus the square root of 11, if we go back to our calculator, 4 plus, no, let me just do it the other way. So you would have 11 square root, then you would add 4. So that's how you get 7.31. 7.31 as you can see here, and then 4 minus the square root of 11. So you'd have 11, and then you'd have your square root, and then so you'd say 4, I just do it this way, 4 minus 11 square root. So that's how you get 0.683. And as you can see, guys, that's what you have here. So we have done the human side of it, and we can determine that this would be the answer if you were solving this, in the classroom. So we are going to go over to ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT can do for us. And remember, I haven't done mathematics for quite a while, so I might be rusty on it. But at least you should understand what I'm actually saying here. So let us go over to ChatGPT and see how it would help us with solving quadratic equation. Now guys, let us see what ChatGPT can do with our quadratic equation. So if I should type the command here, let us see what we will get with this one here. So I'm just waiting for, so here it starts. And guys, as you can see, it actually writes out the quadratic equation for us correctly. And then here it's plugging in the values of a, b, and c from the equation. So we have x is equal to, guys, as you can actually see, it's doing the calculation similar to what we did in the earlier video. So you can actually see that it's working out the value. Again, you can see where it has square root of 11 here. So if I should actually go from the top here, it gave us two values for x, and you notice it did not simplify to give the values that I showed you in the earlier video. So if we could start from here, it says the solution to the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 can be found using quadratic formula, which states that x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then it says plugging in the values of a, b, and c from the equation x squared minus 8x plus 5 equals 0. So that's the instruction, and that's the equation we gave here. We have x is equal to minus, then it has minus 8, and you notice it uses a bracket, plus or minus the square root, and you notice it uses the brackets here, guys. And then you can see it sets it out squared properly, so you have minus 8 squared minus 4ac. That's, you have 4 here, then you have a, the value of a up here is 1, then you have the value of c here, it's 5, that's 4ac all upon 2 times 1, and then come in this line 8. So these two negative, multiply them together, you'd get a positive 8, plus or minus the square root of minus 8 square would be 64. So that's minus 8 times minus 8, positive 64, minus, then you have 4 times 5, minus 4 times 5. Well, it's actually minus 4 times 5, which is 20, all upon 2. Then in this line, 8 plus or minus 64 minus 20 would be 44, all upon 2. And then down here you'd have square root of 11. 8 plus or minus 2 times square root of 11. So what if I actually, and then let me just continue here before I say what I have to say. So the two solutions to the equation x squared equal minus 8x plus 5 equals 0 are, then these are the two values, first value, second value. But what if I didn't understand this section where it says 2 times the square root of 11? I'm going to see if ChatGPT can give me some explanation as to why this is, because this is what I was talking to you about, guys, in the first section of the video. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to explain what that is. So I'm just going to type here. So I'm asking ChatGPT to explain this section. So I'm going to see what it has to say. And as you can see, guys, it's actually explaining. So it says, sure, in mathematics, the symbol square is used to represent the square root of a number. So square 11, which is not really what I want, represents the square root of 11. The square root of a number is a value that when multiplied by itself give the number. No, this is not really what I want. I want to find out why. Let me just copy this. I'm going to rephrase the question because, guys, it's important that you ask the right question. If you ask the right question, then you will get the right answer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say, why did you convert? Let me just copy this. So guys, I'm asking ChatGPT, why did you convert the square root of 44 to 2 times the square root of 11? Let me see what it has to say. Whoa. Wow, guys, you see how clever it is. It says, I didn't convert the square root of 44 to 2 times the square root of 11. It says, I use the identity, that's the square root, that's a square, which would be equal to a, and then it says where a represents the absolute value of a, to simplify the square root of 44 to 2 times the square root of 11. And then it says here the square root of a square, the square root of a square, that's a square, is equal to the absolute value of a. So the square root of 44 is equal to the square root of 11 square. Okay, now I understand what it's actually saying. And then you have, it says equals this, which is equal to 11. I need to refresh myself on this. And it says multiplying by 2 gives us 2 times 11 equals to 22. So 2 times the square root of 11 is equal to the square root of 44. So it's really clever to explain it this way. And then it says this is a common simplification technique used in mathematics as it makes the expressions easier to work with and understand. Of course, I would just grab my calculator and find the square root of 44. But, you know, if you don't have a calculator, and your teacher should ask you to simplify this quadratic equation without, probably they would say without using a calculator, then this would be the approach where you'd have to give the answer like this. So that's really clever. So guys, I hope you did understand what I'm doing. I'm a bit rusty with mathematics now, but as you can see, ChatGPT helped me out with this. And it also explained this section here, so that if a student didn't understand why did you jump from the square root of 44 to 2 times the square root of 11, then you notice ChatGPT answer it here. And I don't think this is really the right question I should have asked, because you notice I asked this question about converting, and the machine would actually correct me and say, no, I didn't convert this. So it's really clever to really give you that response. So guys, that's how you would actually test ChatGPT to see if it can do mathematical calculations. So I hope you like this video, and catch you in the final section. Now guys, we have come to the end of the video, and I do hope that you did learn something from this. And you know, if you really like this video, then you could like, share, subscribe, and also leave a comment to tell me what you think. As I've said, you know, my maths is a bit rusty. I haven't done maths for a very long time. And you know, but I just thought that I would try out you know, this artificial tool, and just to see how it would, you know, help you if you have some mathematics questions or formulas that you would like the machine to help you with. Then this is a good approach. So thanks again for watching, and catch you in another video.